Welcome back to another ukulele tutorial. I'm Lara, and today I'm going to show you 4 ways to play Scarborough Fair. We'll start with an easy strumming pattern and then move into 3 beautiful fingerpicking patterns with increasing difficulty as we move along. The song consists of 5 verses, and they're all played with the same chord progression, and the lyrics for verse 1 and verse 5 are exactly the same. In this lesson, we'll walk through verses 1 through 4 step by step on how to play them, and I'll teach you a different pattern with each verse. The 4 patterns will progress from easy to intermediate, so follow along at whatever level is appropriate for you, and I hope that eventually you'll learn all 4 patterns. After we walk through each of the strumming and fingerpicking patterns and how to play the verses, then stick around for a play along where I will play through all 5 verses and you can play along with me. The lyrics and chords will be on screen, and you'll also find them in a PDF link down in the video description. First, let's take a look at the chords in this song and how to best transition between them. Our first chord is D minor, C, F, G7, and E minor. There are 2 transitions I'd like to point out. The first is going from F to D minor. There's only one difference between these 2 chords, and that is the ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string for D minor. So when you play your F chord, leave your fingers right where they are, and then place down your ring finger to go to D minor. The next transition is going from F to G7. The easiest way to transition between these 2 chords is to leave your index finger down. So after you play your F chord, leave your index finger right where it is, move your middle finger down 1 fret, place down your ring finger to form your G7 chord. I want to point out that I'm playing a tenor with a low G. If you have a high G on your instrument, you can follow this entire tutorial. Just keep in mind that your 4th string will be 1 octave higher than mine. During this lesson, if you feel that a slower tempo would be helpful, then feel free to slow down the playback speed of the video down in the video settings. Now we've come to our first easy strumming pattern. Here's what it sounds like. Let's take a close look at this pattern and how to play the first verse. Here's a look at this pattern played nice and slow. The strumming here is down, up, down, with the emphasis on the first down strum. So the first down strum should be slightly louder than the up strum and the 2nd down strum. The rhythm here is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Taking a look at the first line of the verses, we're going to play this pattern twice on D minor, once on C, and then twice again on D minor. So here's how it sounds. Now I'll add in the lyrics of the first line of the first verse. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? For line 2, we'll play our pattern once on F, once on D minor, and then on the word rosemary, we're going to do a down strum on F and a down strum on G7 on Mary. Mary. And then at the end of the line, we get to the word time. We're going back to our pattern and we'll play it 4 times on D minor. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Moving into line 3, we're going to stay on our D minor chord and play this pattern once on D minor, then once on F. And now we have a few more quick chord changes. So we're going to do one down strum on our F chord, one down strum on E minor, and then another down strum on D minor. Then we'll go to our C chord and play our pattern twice. There is an easier option here, and that is to skip playing the E minor and D minor chords before the C chord. I'll play through the third line of the first verse with the lyrics both ways so you can see both options. Here's the first way, playing all of the chord changes. Remember me to one who lives there. And here's the easier option, skipping the E minor and D minor chords. Remember me to one who lives there. For line 4, we'll play our pattern once on D minor, twice on C, and 4 times on D minor. She once was a true love of mine. Now let's bring this all together and play through all 4 lines of the first verse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine. Now we've come to our first finger picking pattern. Here's what it sounds like. Let's take a close look at this one and the second verse. Here's this pattern played nice and slow. I'm starting by playing the 4th string with my thumb, 3rd string with my index finger, and then playing strings 1 and 2 together with my middle and ring fingers. The rhythm of this pattern is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Starting with the first line of the verses, we'll play this pattern twice on D minor, once on C, and twice again on D minor. Here's what this sounds like. Now let's take a look at the second verse and add the lyrics for the first line. Tell her to make me a cambric shirt. For line 2, we'll play our pattern once on F, once on D minor, and then we have our F and G7 chord changes over Mary. And instead of strumming them, this time we're going to finger pick all 4 strings at once on each chord. Then we go to our D minor chord and we'll play this pattern 4 times. Here's how it sounds to add the lyrics into the second line. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. For line 3, our D minor chord has carried over from the previous line, so we'll start by playing our pattern once on D minor, and then once on F. rest of the line, we have two options. The first option is to pick all 4 strings on F, skip the E minor and D minor chords, and then go right into our pattern twice on C. The other option for the second half of this line is to play through all of the chords, and we actually have 3 chords on the word needle. The first is our F chord, and we're going to pick all 4 strings at once. And then we go to our E minor chord, and then D minor. Then we go to our C chord and play this pattern twice. Now, adding in the lyrics of line 3 of the second verse, here's how the two options sound. First is the easier option, skipping our E minor and D minor chords. Without no seams or needlework. And here's the second option, playing all of the chords. Without no seams nor needlework. For line 4, we'll play our pattern once on D minor, twice on C, and 4 times on D minor. Then she'll be a true love of mine. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please give this video a thumbs up, and I would be so happy if you choose to subscribe to my channel. I very much appreciate your support. Now we're moving into our next fingerpicking pattern. Here's how this one sounds. Let's take a close look at this one and move through the third verse. Here's this pattern played nice and slow. I'm starting with my thumb on the 4th string, index finger on the 3rd string. Then I'm playing strings 1 and 2 together with my middle and ring fingers. And then I'm going back to the 3rd string with my index finger. The rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and. Keeping in mind that the chord sequence is the same for all of the verses, here's how we apply this pattern to the first line of any of the verses. Now let's add in the lyrics to the first line of verse 3. Tell her to find me an acre of land. For line 2, we'll play our pattern once on F, once on D minor, and then we're going to fingerpick all 4 strings at once for F and G7 over Mary. When we get to the word time at the end of the line, we'll go back to our D minor chord and play our pattern 4 times. Here's how it sounds to play through this line with the lyrics. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. For line 3, we'll start on our D minor chord, which has carried over from the previous line. We'll play our pattern once on D minor, once on F, and now we have the same options to either play our F chord using all 4 strings and then go to our C chord, playing the pattern twice on C, or we can play our F chord followed by E minor and then our D minor chord before we go to C. For the second option, playing all of the chords, we'll pick all 4 strings for our F chord on the word and, E minor on the word the, and D minor on the word see. Now adding in the lyrics for line 3, here are the two options. First, without playing our E minor and D minor chords. Between the salt water and the sea strands. Now the second option, adding in our E minor and D minor chords. Between the salt water and the sea strands. For line 4, we'll play our pattern once on D minor, twice on C, and then 4 times on D minor. Thine shall be a true love of mine. Now we've come to our final finger picking pattern. This one is a little more difficult. This is also my favorite of all the patterns. Let's take a close look at this one and how to play verse 4. Here's this pattern played nice and slow. I'm starting with my thumb on the 4th string, index finger on the 3rd string, ring finger on the 1st string, middle finger on the 2nd string, back to the 3rd string with my index finger, and then back to the 2nd string with my middle finger. The rhythm of this pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and. Applying this pattern to the first line of the verses, we'll play it twice on D minor, once on C, and then twice on D minor. Here's what it sounds like. Now let's add in the lyrics for the first line of the 4th verse. Tell her to reap it with a sickle of leather. For line 2, we'll play our pattern once on F, once on D minor, and then on Rosemary, we're going to finger pick all 4 strings on F, and then all 4 strings on G7, and then we'll play our pattern on D minor 4 times. Here's how it sounds to sing through the second line with the lyrics. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. For the third line, we'll start on our D minor chord that carries over from the previous line. We'll play our pattern once on D minor, once on F, and now we have our same 2 options that we've had on the other lines. So we can finger pick all 4 strings at once on F, and then option 1 is to go right to our C chord at the end of the line and play our pattern twice. Or the other option is to play our E minor and D minor chords following our F chord. If we do this, then we finger pick all 4 strings on F on the word and then our E minor chord on the word bunch, and our D minor chord on the word of. When we get to the word heather, then we go back to our C chord and play our pattern twice. Now adding in the lyrics for line 3 of the 4th verse, here's the first option, omitting the E minor and D minor chords. And gather it all in a bunch of heather. And here's how it sounds, adding in our E minor and D minor chords. And gather it all in a bunch of heather. For the 4th fourth line, we'll play our pattern once on D minor, twice on C, and 4 times on D minor. Then she'll be a true love of mine. Now we've come to our play along. I'm going to play through the entire song, verses 1 through 5, instrumental only, so you can really hear what I'm playing on the instrument and the different patterns that I'm playing. You can play along with me, and if you'd like to sing, the lyrics will be on screen. You can use any one of the patterns that we've used to play through the entire song, or you can use multiple patterns. For verses 1 through 4, I'm going to move through each of the 4 patterns that we've learned, playing 1 pattern per verse. For the 5th verse, I'm going to play 1 pattern per line, so you can hear what it sounds like to alternate between patterns within the same verse. Remember that if a slower speed would be helpful, you can slow down the playback speed of the video. Now let's get started with our play along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. you've enjoyed this tutorial and 4 ways to play this beautiful song. Have fun with your ukulele, and thank you for watching.